right, that's a hard act to follow, but you can see that some great things are happening in Uganda. Tugende means let's go. And before I talk to you about moving forward together, I want to take you back 11 years to the first time that I moved to Uganda. I was working as a journalist, I was a little bit thinner then, and had the incredible opportunity to travel around the country talking to Ugandans in all walks of life, developing incredible friendships and having a few adventures. You could say that I completely dove in to Uganda. And I fell in love with the country. And I've spent the vast majority of my adult life in Uganda ever since. But along with falling in love with Uganda, I also developed an intense passion for motorcycle taxis, or as we call them in Uganda, boda bodas. I rode on the back of thousands of them over the years. How many people here have ridden on a motorcycle taxi? Excellent. Well, for those of you who haven't, motorcycles are driving economic growth all over the developing world. In East Africa alone, there are more than 800,000 full-time motorcycle taxi drivers. They help people beat traffic and get to work in cities. They help connect people in rural areas, especially on roads where there is no public transportation and it's difficult for cars to pass. Simply put, motorcycles are getting business done. They're also providing hundreds of thousands of badly needed jobs in countries like Uganda, where formal sector jobs are scarce. And while having a job is better than not, it's not all fun and motorcycles. Over the years, I learned that the vast majority of drivers cannot get credit to own their own motorcycle or afford to buy one outright, forcing them to depend on renting from informal motorcycle landlords. Who here has had a bad landlord? Imagine if that person controlled the equipment that you need to provide for yourself and your family. We call this problem the rental poverty trap. Drivers don't have job or income stability because they could lose their motorcycle at any time. It's hard to build savings when you're focused on week-to-week bills and you're just renting. There is no path forward. I started solving this problem by accident. I had an incredible motorcycle taxi driver friend named Mehdi, and he was able to own his own motorcycle because someone else helped him out. He used the gains from ownership to build a house for his mother so she wouldn't have to rent anymore. One of the reasons that these guys can't get credit is banks, traditional finance providers say they're too risky. They're mostly urban young men on motorcycles. It does sound pretty risky. But you know what? I said that's nonsense. I know Mehdi. He's a great guy. It's so cool what he did taking ownership. We should just do this. So I convinced my friend Matt, the other white guy in the photo, that we should just use all of our savings and buy some motorcycles. So we did. We bought 3. And our friends... We're still broke, by the way. But our friends, including Ugandan journalists who are kind of cynical but a lot of fun, said, look, you can't do this. These guys won't pay you back. They'll run away with the motorcycle. This is never going to work. But it did work. They kept paying us back. We started reinvesting the money. And 2 years later, in 2012, I decided this needs to be a full-time business. So we created what is now, today, called Tugende. Tugende solves the rental poverty trap with a fair, transparent lease-to-own model where drivers take ownership in 19 months or less through affordable weekly payments. Our process involves training in safety, security, and customer care, an in-depth credit screening process where we visit people where they live and where they work, electronic payments, and ownership as soon as possible. In fact, 70% of our customers take ownership ahead of the 19-month schedule. So what does that actually mean? Well, ownership, of course, is great, but our impact starts even before then. When people sign a lease contract with us, they have the stability that they can't get from their informal landlord bosses. We also provide training, as I mentioned, as well as packaging life and medical insurance into every lease, which also provides stability and long-term economic gains for the household. Finally, we enhance safety. All of our leases come with helmets, and for many people in Uganda, despite what you see in this photo, there aren't enough helmets, and many of our drivers are getting a helmet for the first time. So that's all on day one. What happens after ownership? When somebody goes from renting to owning, their take-home income doubles from $5 a day to $10 a day. In Uganda, where the average household is 5 people, that's enough to lift the whole household above the $2 a day poverty line. So motorcycle ownership can lift an entire household out of poverty. Additionally, our drivers gain ownership of a valuable asset, which has a resale value of at least $700. So they become asset owners as well. What are some of our customers actually doing with this? Just to give you a quick human snapshot. Oh, there was too much impact. Well, it's okay, I can tell you. This guy, Julius, used his ownership to invest in land and start a maize agribusiness. Samuel used his savings to put his son and his younger brother into a much better private school. And one of my favorite alumni customers, Kakuza Farouk, he used his extra money from ownership to start a cattle business that then went so well that he took the profits from that and actually built a block of apartments. These guys are amazing. Over the last 5 years, we've helped over 2,700 people like them take ownership. And we call the impact from this a bottom-up economic revolution. Because the money that we're giving them through ownership is being invested in their communities. So just to give you an example of how transformative this can be, we surveyed our completed drivers. 39% have started or invested in another business, and you can see the impact. 45% have hired one or more employees, with actually an average of 2.5 hires. These are new jobs created by our customers. 45% have bought land, 36% have invested in agriculture, 32% increased their savings, 48% spent more on healthcare for themselves and their families. If you've noticed that this doesn't add up to 100%, you're right. And the reason is our owners are investing in more than one of these things. So, in case I haven't been clear enough yet, ownership has ripple effects. And putting someone in control of the tool that they use to make money is transformative from the bottom up. I should also mention that we have another type of impact, which is employment. Tugende directly employs 120 people, and my happiest day as a manager was when we upgraded their health insurance. Many of them were getting it for the first time. So we are also building emerging leaders on our own team. Over the last 5 years, we've proven that this works. Starting with those original 3 motorcycles, we've grown to nearly 4,000 active clients today on top of the 2,700 completed. And we're on track to do more than $2 million in revenue in 2017. This is great, but we are only in 7 locations in Uganda, and we want to be much bigger. We get Facebook messages from all over the country and even neighboring countries asking for us to come and provide ownership in those areas. In fact, we not only want to expand, but we want to serve our existing customers faster. This is as of last week, we have almost 4,000 drivers, but we also had more than 1,000 people on the waiting list. These are customers who have already applied. What is the barrier? It's capital. We've never been able to raise enough debt capital to serve our existing customer demand because we just keep growing so quickly. And we're profitable, so all of the capital that we're raising will go directly into serving more customers faster. So just to give you an idea, each motorcycle costs $1,200. So just to serve today's waiting list, we could put $1.2 million to work very, very quickly. And as a business, it's actually hurting us to not do that. Every motorcycle could be generating $40 in revenue per month, which means these 1,000 guys would be giving us $40,000 per month and $500,000 per year in revenue that we're essentially leaving on the table because fundraising is hard. So we're here to ask for help. Remember, we're only in 7 locations in Uganda. And as I told you earlier, the market of full-time motorcycle taxi drivers across East Africa is at least 800,000. So we want to take a much bigger piece of it. And over the next 2.5 years, we plan to grow from 4,000 customers today to 25,000 by the end of 2019, which will put us on a revenue run rate of over $7 million. To do that, we need a lot more debt. In fact, we need exactly $15 million to grow through 2019. Did I see any eyes glaze over? I know that that's a lot of money. And if there's anyone who can write a $15 million check here, fantastic, let's talk. But we know this is going to come in pieces, and I have good news. $5 million of this has already been committed by OPIC, the U.S. Development Finance Bank, and will be into Tugende by the end of the year. So we're looking for $10 million in additional debt capital to phase in over the course of 2018. All of this, again, to fund motorcycles, because we are profitable. So I told you at the beginning that Tugende means let's go. And I want to invite you to join our incredible team and move forward together to help renters become owners, to help motorcycle taxi drivers make a bottom-up economic revolution in their own communities. Motorcycles make a difference, and we are helping put people in control of their own economic future. Thank you.